Welcome to our video series about the EQ Lighting Application Suite and the programmer. And today I will show you a very basic, moderately ancient way of creating light shows using the concept of cues and cue lists. Let's assume a very basic configuration, a very simple configuration. I have butlers connected to my programmer, and connected to the butlers are 5 simple RGB fixtures. These could be park hands or liners or everything else. And I will not use the patchler to set up the configuration, but I will use the patch tool of the programmer. And I will now add 5 fixtures from the fixture library in the programmer. And here I have a generic chapter, and in the generic chapter I have, for example, the RGB faders. RGB faders are just simple RGB fixtures, and I want to add 5 fixtures beginning at DMX address 1. Now I have these 5 DMX fixtures, and they are added to the configuration of the programmer. This is the quite simple way of adding DMX fixtures to the programmer. It asks to auto-arrange them. Yes, let's do it. Just ignore this step. So now, in this window I can see the RGB faders as output channels 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I can even view these fixtures using the preview window. And opening the preview window, I will get an overview, and you see that the programmer has arranged the 5 fixtures in a row. Using the scroll wheel of the mouse, I can zoom in, and here I have my 5 fixtures. I will resize this window a little bit to have more view of the programmer window. Okay. I now switch to the programmer view. I select the first fixture, the right mouse button, use all. And now I have in my programmer view all my 5 fixtures. At the moment I have all 5 fixtures selected, and here I have the 3 color channels of the fixtures. I could now, with the left mouse button, set the color value of the fixture. I can do this for all, or I can select a single fixture and set with the left mouse button a color. And as you see, the colors that I adjusted here in the window of the programmer are the colors of my fixtures. I can do this in another color, I can do this for this fixture in this color, reducing blue, this one more green, less blue. So this is the current color sent via DMX to the fixtures. And this state, this color settings, can be recorded as a cue to the currently selected cue list. I will now record this cue, and I call it cue number 1. I can now adjust the colors of the fixtures to another state, record this as cue number 2. And now, right mouse button, select all. I will set them to full white. Record as a cue. Number 3. And in the end, I will use the color picker to assign a color to all channels. Record as a cue. This is number 4. So I've now recorded cues into the cue list number 1. So cues are lighting states on my fixtures and cue lists are collections of cues. I could now play my cue list, but the first thing I have to do is to clear the programmer view, because the DMX channels at the moment are occupied by the programmer. So first I clear the programmer view. I can now go to the cue list area of the programmer, double click on cue list number 1, and I can see that I have my recorded 4 cues. Now I could play my cue list, so I use the play button, and you see that I'm changing from one cue to another. And here I have my fixtures changing in color. I now want to have these changes automatically and not by a manual control. I click on the first cue, keep the shift button pressed to select all cues, use the right mouse button for properties, and now it is set to manual and I set it to a wait time, let's say 2 seconds. If I now play the cue list, the cues are changing automatically. In the window you can see the cues, you can see the fade in time, you can see the fade out time and the control time of 2 seconds, which makes up an automatically running cue list. I can stop the cue list and it fades out, and I can start it again playing my show. That's a very basic type of show control using a cue list, but is still necessary, for example, in stage applications and for many areas where you don't need a high sophisticated control of your fixtures. This is cue list control and cue list play. And this cue list, for example, can now be started via an external devices like a last touch, or you can create several cue lists and assign play and stop to buttons on a glass touch terminal to select the cue list to run.